शङ्करांश भूम शङ्करार्यपीठसद्गुरून् शुद्धसत्त्वभासुरान् सुवर्त्मनीतभूसुरान् सर्वभूतसौख्यदान् क्षमाकरान् यतीश्वरान्।
ओम श्रुतिस्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरं व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्। अपरोक्षानुभूतिर्वै प्रोच्यते मोक्षसिद्धये सद्भिरेव प्रयत्नेन वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः। So we have started the discussion on the 15 means to attain the perfection in Nididhyasanam, and those 15 have been numbered, named and all that, but then all of them, most of them will have the connection or the similarity with the Patanjali yoga system, but in this Vedanta text, they have a different meaning altogether. So those meanings are stated in the shloka in a concise form and elaborated in the commentary by Swami Vidyaranya. So far we have seen Yama and Niyama. The third one that has to be taken up now is Tyaga, that has been stated in the 106th shloka. So in the 105th shloka, the Niyama, the focus on Niyama is on meditation actually. Niyama has got a different meaning in the Patanjali system, but then here it is meditation by considering the world to be Nitya and not allowing the world thoughts to enter the Brahman thought or mingle with the Brahman thought or to taint the Brahman thought. So this idea is conveyed by the word Niyama here in this shloka, in this 105th shloka. So the next one is Tyaga, that is 106th shloka. Tyagaha prapancharupasya chidatatva avalokanat. Tyago hi mahatam pujyaha sadyo mokshamayo yataha. So here in this 106th shloka, the Tyaga has been defined as prapanchasya chidatmatva avalokanat, that is by viewing or considering or determining the world to be none other than the Chidatma, none other than Brahman, Nirguna Brahman itself. What happens automatically is the world idea is dropped. So the Brahman idea pops up and the world idea is dropped, and the dropping of that world idea is called Tyaga. Tyaga means renunciation or giving up something. So here, giving up the world thought through the Vedantic Brahman assertion is called Tyaga here. And the praise of Tyaga is made in the second line, Tyago hi mahatam pujyaha sadyo mokshamayo yataha. Great Vedantins who have achieved the highest, they have given the topmost importance to this Tyaga, this kind of Tyaga. And the benefit of that Tyaga is immediately, instantly, it gives one liberation. Because the attachment to the world is what is called bandha or bondage, and the giving up of the world is signified by liberation. So here in the commentary, the Acharya gives a lot of information here. Idanim tritiyam tyagam lakshayati tyagaha iti. Prapancha rupasya prapanchaha namarupa lakshanaha. So prapancha rupa, in the shloka it says tyago hi prapancha rupasya. So what is that rupa? The rupa, he says, namarupa lakshanaha. So the prapancha has got a form, and that the prapancha has got a form. That form itself is name form. So here prapancha is defined as nothing but name form. So name form dual, that pair, name form pair is there, and that is what is signified by the word prapancha. And every object in the prapancha in the world has got a name and it has got a form. Naturally, it will have some characteristics and all that, and that's what differentiates it from one object from another. Rupyate ghatoyam patoyam ityadi namarupataha nirupyate Yavagriyate, Prakashyate, Yena, Tat Prapancha Rupam, Sarvadhishtana Bhutam, Padarthaspurnam Tasya. So here, the word Prapancha Rupa is given an etymological explanation here. Prapancha Rupa. So the word Prapancha Rupa has got two words, Prapancha and Rupa. The samasa, the compound word Prapancha Rupa has got two components. One is Prapancha and the other is Rupa. So these two words are being explained in such a way that it gives a very, very concise meaning of the word Prapancha. Rupyate. So the word is given a form. What is the form? Gatoyam, patoyam. So the name Gata, the name Pata. Gata is pot, Pata is cloth. So ityadi nama rupataha. So every word has got a every object has got a name, and definitely the object has got a form also. So in this way, nama rupataha nirupyate, vyavahriyate. So in the world, we do all transactions only by using names and forms for objects. So even if we do not know the name and form even if we do not know the name in a particular place, the language and all that, we try to coin a name. So this is how we do all transactions. So nirupyate, vyavahriyate, prakashyate, yena tat prapancha rupam, sarvadhishtana bhutam, padartha spuranam tasya. So the word Namarupa is given to this word, the word Prapancha. So the Prapancha is it is always coming to our experience through the word, through the name and form. And all these things are happening in the mind level also. So the outside the world objects are there, but then the naming and forming and all that happens in the mind. So the Padartha Spuranam Tasya. Chidatmatva Avalokanate Chid Ajada Swataha Eva Prakashamanam Brahma Tad Atmaswarupam Yasya Tad Bhavas Tasya Avalokanam Anusandhanam Tasmad Hetoho Yaha Tyagaha Namarupa Upeksha. So Tyaga is actually disregarding the names and form of the world. So this is called Tyaga. So it's not physical giving up. It's not just physical giving up. That also happens in Tyaga. But then here it is mainly the disregarding of the name and form of the world is called Tyaga. So the whole world can be given up through this method by disregarding name and form of the whole world. And naturally what happens is, what remains is not Shunya, what remains is Brahman. Because this world is the name form world is a superimposition on Brahman, and when this name form world is disregarded, what happens is Brahman alone comes to the fore. So the focus is on Brahman alone, and the focus is not at all on the name form world. So this is called Tyaga here. Chidatmatva Avalokanat. There is a word in the shloka. Chidatmatva Avalokanat is Chit Ajadam Swataha Eva. Chit means ajadam, that is not that which is not insentient, is chit. So chit is sentience or pure consciousness, and the opposite of that is jada. So chit means ajada. Swataha eva prakashmanam brahma. So this chit is it is Swayam Prakasha. It doesn't require any other light to illuminate it. Whereas the jada amsha, that is the world, always requires the consciousness to reveal it. So the world does not shout and announce its existence. Only a human, only a sentient entity, it could be a human or a bird or an animal, whatever, that is the one which is giving an existence to the world. So the world doesn't have an existence unless the sentient entity validates it. So that validation is required for the world. It doesn't have a self-validation. Whereas on the other hand, in the case of the sentient person or sentient Brahman or Atman, which is self-luminous, there is no need for a validation from any other outside source. Whereas for the world, something else other than the world needs to validate it. So that is the kind of teaching that the Acharya gives here. Namarupa, so Prakashamanam Brahma, Tad Atmaswarupam Yasya, Tad Bhavaha Tasya Avalokanam Anusandhanam. So that is the Atmaswarupam of the, that is the true self of the world. and the true self of the person who observes the world. So by focusing on the self of the world and the self of the, which is none other than the self of the observer person, the Anusandhanam of the Brahman takes place, and automatically the upeksha, disregarding of the world, also happens. So we have a very interesting Chandogya Upanishad concept here. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the run-up to the teaching of the Tattvamasi Mahavakya happens by a very, very detailed description of the creation of the world. So Brahman is the ultimate or the fundamental creator of the world through the creation of the Panchabhutas. Of course, in Chandogya, only 3 bhutas are named, but then we have to take the other 2 bhutas also. Akasha and Vayu also have to be taken. So through the Panchabhutas, the Bhautika Prapancha is created, and along with the Bhautika Prapancha, the body-mind complex of the observer also gets created. So the principle of the non-difference between the cause and effect, that is, the effect is non-different from the cause, that is called Karyasya Karanat Ananyatva. So Karya is non-different from the Karana, that is, the Karya, that is the effect, does not have an existence independent of the Karana, that is a cause. So in this manner, at each stage, the Upanishad itself teaches that the first effect is the bhutas, that is the elements, and the elements are originated from Brahman. So that way, the elements that are the cause, that are the effect, are non-different from the cause Brahman. And from the elements, the elemental world and the body-mind complex of the observer, they all have formed. And naturally, the body-mind complex and the world are non-different from their cause, that is the Panchabhutas. And the Panchabhutas in turn are non-different from their cause, that is Brahman. So that way, the world and the body-mind complex have Brahman for their cause, and they are non-different from Brahman. So this is the way it teaches the connection between the Brahman and the world. And then finally it says, Aitadatmyam idagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi shvetaketo. So the meaning of that is, Aitadatmyam idagam sarvam, this, that is this world, which consists of the observer body-mind complex also, this whole world has this Brahman as for its self. Brahman is the Atma, Brahman is the cause, Mula Karanam, Upadana Karanam, material cause of this whole world, which includes the observer's body-mind complex also. So, Aitadatmyam idagam sarvam tat satyam, and that is the satyam, what? That the cause is satyam, because the Shruti itself has taught before in the beginning stages, by giving the analogy of clay and clay products, gold and gold products, and iron products, that the truth or the reality in the effect is nothing but the Mula Karanam or the Upadana Karanam or the material cause. So in all gold ornaments, the what is real is gold alone, and not the form and name of the ornaments, because they have come into being and they will change sometime and they will go out of existence at some time. But then the material gold will never go out of existence. So that is the idea there. So here the Upanishad says, Aitadatmyam idagam sarvam tat satyam. So it calls that material cause as satyam, because in the Upanishad itself, while giving these 3 analogies, it says, Mritike tyeva satyam, Vacharambhanam vikaro namadeyam, Mritike tyeva satyam. So it says this effect is real only as the cause, and as the effect itself, it is unreal. So the effect is real only as the cause. So the cause alone is the substantial or the essence or the heart of the effect. So naturally, the heart or the substantial part is the one which gets which ought to get the highest importance. But unfortunately, what has happened in the world is, out of ignorance, we have relegated the cause or the most important thing to the background, and only the name form thing comes to the fore, and we are enamored by it. So this is how the Upanishad teaches and says, Tat Satyam Sa Atma, that is the Atma, that is the your Atma also, that is the Atma of the world also, and that therefore, Shvetaketo, you are that. So you, Shvetaketo, who thinks that the world body-mind complex is your true nature, it's not so. Brahman is your true nature. Brahman, you are that Brahman alone. You are not this body-mind complex, which is unreal. So this is how the Chandogya teaches it. Teaches this fundamental truth. So here the Acharya also says, Tad Atmaswarupam Yasya Tad Bhavaha Tasya Avalokanam. So the contemplation of this Atmaswarupam of the whole world, which includes the body-mind complex of this observer, is what is required here, and that is called contemplation is called Anusandhanam. That is the Bhavaha Tasmat Eto Yaha Tyagaha. So as a result of that, the Tyaga happens of the world. Tyaga of the world happens. And what is that Tyaga? He says Nama Rupa Upeksha. Upeksha is disregarding or ignoring. So the ignoring or the disregarding of the Nama Rupa Prapancha is what is termed as Tyaga here. So this has to happen constantly at every stage, and it can be achieved only by great practice and involvement, and a lot of inputs have to be supplied by the observer in this sadhana. Swami Vidyaranya himself, the Panchadashi, says Nididhyasanam has two aspects. The one is Nididhyasanam, that is the constant contemplation of oneself as Brahman, oneself as not body-mind complex, but oneself as Brahman, and at the same time, one has to create the time slot for contemplating the world also as Mithya. So to contemplate Satya as Brahman as Satya and the world as Mithya, both these things are equally important. Swami Vidyaranya emphasizes there. So both these things have formed part of the Nididhyasanam sadhana. So Namarupa Upeksha Sa Eva Tyagaha Tyaga Shabda Vachaha. So Tyaga means this alone is Tyaga. So the real meaning of Tyaga is giving up the world, that is by ignoring or by disregarding the name form world, name and form of the world. So when the name and form are disregarded and removed, what remains is Brahman alone. Of course, that Brahman is not something which is available for any sensual perception. So it is the one which has to be learned or understood or perceived through the eyes of the Shastra. So the Shastra alone teaches that Brahman exists, and Bhagavad Shankaracharya has elaborately explained this concept in the Bhagavad Gita 2.16 shloka. Anybody can take the original or the explanation or the translation for it and read through it. It gives a very good lesson on the idea of disregarding the name form and perceiving or directly realizing the underlying truth, that is the Sat, that is called Brahman there. So Vachaha, then the Acharya cites a very interesting and a very, very popular mantra also of the Ishavāsyam. Ishavāsyam idagam sarvam ityadi shrutehe. So that Shruti, Ishavāsya, the Shruti opens with this declaration, Ishavāsyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagate. So here, the Tena Kyatena Gunjitaha Magridas Kasyachit Dhanam. So the Upanishad says one has to look upon the whole universe, the whole cosmos, the whole of the observed world as nothing but Brahman. So it is giving a kind of a simile, just like we would cover or paint something with some color or whatever, or a cover with like a blanket or something. So the Upanishad asks us to cover the whole universe with the blanket called Ishvara, that is pure Brahman consciousness. Here, Ishvara does not mean Saguna Brahman on the ultimate meaning. One can practice it by first covering the whole world or by looking upon the whole world as Saguna Brahman Ishvara, but then one has to ultimately arrive at the truth, that is Nirguna Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam of the whole world. So here, Yesha Vasya Avasyam Idam Sarvam. This whole world, that is observed world, Idam means this whole observed world, has to be looked upon as Ishvara, or that is Nirguna Brahman. Then Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagate, whatever one comes across. So this is something like Neti Neti. In that Neti Neti, the two times neti neti is explained as the purpose or the reason behind using twice the expression neti twice is explained as whatever you come across. So anything that you come across is to be seen as not Brahman, but the truth, underlying truth of that is Brahman. So that neti neti teaching is what is stated in a different form in the Sisha Vasyamidam Sarvam. Iti iti, that is this entire world has to be seen as this Brahman alone. And then in the second line it says Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. So tena tyaktena, with this idea, with this realization, with this contemplation, one has to give up tyaga of this world, and he has to survive himself or live in this world by this tyaga. So a question might arise, after you have given up everything, how can you survive at all? So here the secret here lies here. A person has to live in such a way that he does not take anything more than what is required for his bare maintenance. So that kind of thing is that kind of tyaga is what is required in the demanded by the Upanishads. So tena tektena bhunjitaha magrida kasyapit janataram. So it says one should never covet someone else's wealth. And naturally, someone else will be here Prakriti or Brahman. So one should never covet what belongs to Brahman or what belongs to Prakriti and usurp it as oneself. So that kind of thing is barred there, or which is criticized there. So normally, even good, well-meaning people also will be doing this only. That's why the Shruti comes with such a very strong instruction. Isha Vasimidam Sarvam Ityadi Shrutehe. Then he iti Vidvad Anubhava Prasiddhau. In the shloka, Tyago hi Mahatam Pujaha. That he means it is very, very popular among the those people who have achieved in realizing Brahman. So that Vidvat is the Aparoksha Jnani. So he iti Vidvad Anubhava Prasiddhau. Nanu ayam tyagaha na kutrapi prasiddhaha ityashankyaha mahatam pujaha iti. See, you are talking about, see, at least we can understand something called sannyasa. In a sannyasa, in the real life, what happens is, a sannyasi, a person, he gives up his connections with the world, connections with all property and all that, and with his family and all that, and then he takes up this vow of sannyasa, and he's even his physical appearance also undergoes a change. So he puts on a ochre robe and he shaves off his head hairs and all that, and then he lives a very, very austere life. So there we can understand that tyaga can happen that way. But then you are talking about tyaga of disregarding the names and form. Where do we see this kind of a tyaga at all? So when such a question is there raised, the Acharya answers, Tyago hi Mahatam Pujaha. So he says, Mahatam Pujaha iti. Tatra hetuho Sadhyaha iti. Mahatam is Mahantaha. That is the Mahatmas. For them, this Tyaga is very, very greatly respected by these Mahatmas. For them, the Tyaga, this kind of Tyaga is they very ardently they practice this Tyaga. So for them, it is a very something puja. This Tyaga itself is puja. Then what is the reason? Why do they do that? For that, the Acharya says, Sadhyaha mokshamayo yataha. Because yato ayam tyagaha sadhyaha anusandhana kale eva mokshamayaha paramananda swarupa avasthana rupaha. So even as a person is practicing this tyaga sincerely, he will undoubtedly he will experience a peace, a shanti. And that is the moksha sukha, the Acharya says. So, tyago hi, yatoyam tyagaha, sadhyaha, immediately, even anusandhana kale eva, even as he is practicing that sincerely, he will start getting the benefits of this tyaga. And the benefit is, it cannot be, one can never become blind to that. He will immediately recognize it and he will enjoy it. So, mokshamayaha, Paramananda Swarupa Avasthana Rupaha. So, being established in this Paramananda Swarupa is called this Sadhyaha Anubhava Mokshaha. So, this Moksha is actually Paramananda Swarupa Anubhava. Ataha eva Atmatattva Vidam Ishtatvat Ati Prasiddhoyam Tyagaha Ityartaha. because of this reason alone, the Mahatmas seek this Tyaga with great ardor, and they practice it with so much sincerity, and they enjoy the benefits also. So, Atayava Atma Tattva Vidam Ishtatvat, they like it very much, they regard it very much, they put great value, very great value, they ascribe to it. So, Ishtatvat, Adi Prasiddhaha, so this is very, very popular among sincere seekers and those who have attained the goal of liberation. So, Tyagaha Ityarthaha. Tasmat Ayameva Mumukshuna Kartavyaha Na Anyaha. Since this is the case with the muktas, a mumukshu who is on the path to becoming a mukta has to follow their path. So here also we see that the idea of Sthita Prajna Lakshana, for the Sthita Prajna, the traits of the Sthita Prajna are all very, very natural to him. But for a person who aims or who is struggling, or who is endeavoring to become the Sthita Prajna, for him, those are all to be practiced with effort. So, Tasmat Ayameva Mumukshuna Kartavyaha Na Anyaha. So, a Mumukshu has to engage himself constantly in this Tyaga alone and nothing else. So, naturally, we can see that all these 15 means or limbs which have been prescribed, they will all be interconnected. So, if one is done very ardently and sincerely, the others also will fall in place. So that is the beauty of this sadhanas, and this can be applied to the fourfold qualifications like Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shakti, Sampati, and Mumukshutvam also. Even if one is given great focus, then the others also will get strength from this practice. The others means the other components in that sadhana chatushtaya will also get power from this one by a person focusing on even one of them. So here also the same thing happens. Then na kevala swakarmadi akarna rupaha iti bhavaha. So what is actually conveyed by this sloka is Tyaga means normally by giving up, as I said before, it is giving up the swakarma, whatever karma he has been doing, he gives them up in a very Vedic prescribed, in a proper way, in a proper approved way, and thereby he becomes a sannyasi. But here it is not merely giving up karma, but it is something more than that. And even that giving up of the karma physically is also aimed at enabling the sannyasi to contemplate on this kind of Tyaga. So that Tyaga is only a preliminary to this Tyaga. Then evam agrepi uhyam. So in this way, in each of these limbs that we are going to take up one after the other, and what we have seen already also, the literal meaning has to be seen as only secondary, whereas the main, the purport of it has to be seen as something beyond the literal meaning. So here we will end this session. With the 106th shloka, Tyagaha prapancharupasya chidatmatva avalokanam Tyago hi mahatam pujyaha sadhyo mokshamayaha yataha Sriharim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham Aparokṣānubhūti prochate mokshasiddhaye Sadbhireva prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu Shastram Sharirami Mamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatvajnam Vidushekara Bharati Om Tat Sat.